Now that we know how judges are elected in the United States, we can look at the pros and cons of each way the judges are brought on to the judicial branch to see which one might be better for diversity to come on, because some may be better than other. But at the end of the day, it's all subjective, and everyone is entitled to their own opinion on what is the best way to bring in diversity through the selection of judges. Elections give people the direct voice, which allows them to bring in who they want into office and hold them accountable. Having the party next to their name also kind of gives you an idea of how this judge is and gives you insight into their ideas and values, for the most part. At the end of the day, it's almost impossible to avoid partisanship in any matter, even before elections or after. In some way, it's gonna come out, so might as well get it out of the way in the beginning. Now for the cons of partisan elections. I think this is pretty negative, but partisan elections give special interest groups a leg up in bringing in who they want into the office, and they can manipulate the judiciary. Voters typically do not get how partisanship manifests itself into every little issue that they may think. They usually tend to focus on only the hot political issues at the moment, such as abortion, death penalty, but there's a lot of little things in between that voters sometimes don't realize that partisan has a big play on. So while they may vote for one thing based off their own party and that hot political issue, this could be damaging for the other little things that they may not realize. Nonpartisan election. Pros. Nonpartisan elections don't attract as much funding, which repels more of the special interest groups, and this can be useful and is a good counter for the partisan election. What was a con in the previous one regarding how voters don't really understand how partisanship manifests itself through each and every little decision, not just the hot political ones, this can be actually a pro for the nonpartisan elections because people are just going, oh, and that makes them actually do the research on the actual judge who they might be voting in. Similar to a pro in the partisan election, this gives the people a direct voice on who they want in there and holding them more accountable when they're voted in. Let's go to the cons. One major con of nonpartisan elections is without party affiliation, judges then start campaigning based on hot political issues, which is what we don't want because then people will vote them in for that specific issue, but they may think completely different of what that voter wants on another issue. So they may vote one way on abortion, gay marriage, or even the death penalty, but they don't realize how the partisanship again manifests itself into everything. Again, partisanship is unavoidable. For the millionth time, partisanship is unavoidable. It's going to come out one way or another. And last, the most biggest con, again, which is unavoidable, wherever there is campaigning, there's always going to be special interest groups looking to buy a vote, which is a big no-no because that ruins the thread of democracy. Legislative elections. This one's pretty quick. Legislative elections are designed to prevent one authority from having too much power. It's basically a system of check and balance, which is pretty good. Cons. When legislature is politically polarized, this really doesn't function that well. Another negative con is legislative elections can create political inbreeding, which means judges are basically past legislators and they find a way to weasel themselves in, which can be pretty bad and negative and a threat to democracy. Gubernatorial appointment of judges. Pros. One massive pro that really relates to this topic with this kind of election is that gubernatorial elections keep the independence of the judiciary. This eliminates the need for political campaigns and special interest groups to buy a vote, which gets rid of that nasty pest that we were talking about earlier. One big con of this, though, is that voters should be given a direct voice in choosing who is their judge and that should be allowed to hold them accountable. Assisted appointment. Pros. Allegedly, merit selections may get more qualified judges into the branch. This is because regular voters may not know how to evaluate judges properly based on the qualifications they have. But by having a commission, this allows for the more proper judges to get in. Merit selection protects judicial independence by insulating the judicial branch from partisan vote and partisan sway. Even though judges may still create funding for re-election, it's not really the same as having a partisan vote and having those types of elections. It's a little different. They're just trying to retain their seat on the bench. Again, the cons with this is that voters should really be given a direct voice in who they vote for. Merit selection, those commissions that make up those people who select the actual judges, is usually picked by bar members or the governor. So it's not necessarily a direct voice of the people. It kind of takes away from that and dilutes it. What I'm saying here is that it's a political process. Merit selection systems can sometimes be held in private, and this should also be held very transparent to the public so they can see how judges are actually chosen. This is pretty important. Merit selection systems are based on the incorrect notion that judicial elections are based off of incorrect political meddling. Merit selection systems are also based on the incorrect notion that judicial elections may be susceptible to political meddling. And this is completely false, but it's a con.
On both sides, you have pros and cons of judicial independence.
Yeah.
Both systems are imperfect. I guess it would be a matter of individual philosophy, which system is better.
Which one in your individual philosophies?
I think that the life appointment is probably a little better because
Okay.
once the judges are vetted, let's hope that the process is one where the right person is selected. Now that person is free to make decisions without political pressures. But at the beginning of the process, you know that that person probably identified and aligned with the executive and the political that was in place at the time. So, but the good thing is that a judge is appointed by a Republican president and confirmed by a Republican Senate, but he's going to serve throughout Republican and Democratic administrations. So he's going to be there or she's going to be there regardless of the political current.
Climate, yeah.
Yeah.
And the same can go for a Democrat.
Yeah.